Hi everyone, and welcome to the last video in this series of videos exploring price elasticity of demand. Now, so far in the previous two videos, we've looked at what PED actually is. We've looked at the formula, we've looked at the values that come from the formula, we've looked at diagrams, we've looked at some numerical examples, and we've also looked at what influences price elasticity of demand. So demand, we should remember, is price inelastic when it forms a small proportion of your income. We're looking at the short term. There are a lack of substitutes and the product is a necessity. Demand is more price elastic when we're looking at the long term, when we're looking at luxury products, when there are lots of substitutes available. So inelastic against elastic demand. Now, what we're going to focus on in this video is going to be how price elasticity of demand will affect total revenue for firms. So look at this diagram here. Now, what we know is to work out total revenue, we multiply the selling price multiplied by the quantity demanded of the good or service at that particular price. So in this example here, we can see a business is charging £3.20 for a product, and at £3.20 the demand is 12. So we would do £3.20 multiplied by 12. In other words, 12 lots of £3.20 will generate £38.40 in revenue. In the diagram, the green shaded area would show the total revenue. So to think about how you calculate the area of a rectangle, you multiply the two sides together. So 12 multiplied by £3.20 would generate £38.40 in revenue. Right, now we're now going to be thinking about how changing price would affect total revenue. So in the left-hand side diagram, we can now see a firm is charging £10, and at £10, they've got 20 people buying their product. So 10 lots of £20 would generate £200 in revenue. On the right-hand side diagram, we're looking at what happens when businesses adjust prices. So if we think about a firm originally lowering the selling price from £10 to £8, now what you would expect to happen is you lower the selling price, there will be an extension in demand. So we can see here, when this firm lowers the price from £10 to £8, then revenue will grow from £200 to £240. Now we can see two new areas, Area A and Area B, that forms when we add in the new price of £8 and the demand of 30. As price falls, we would lose Area A, because those 20 customers that were paying £10 will now get the product for £8. So that would be revenue lost from those customers. But the business would then gain Area B. 10 lots of £8 would be the additional revenue gained on these new customers. So Area A would be the revenue lost by lowering price. Area B would be the revenue gained by lowering the price. Now, clearly, if you were to raise the price from £8 to £10, this time you would lose Area B and you would gain Area A. Okay, now what you might argue for this firm is if they're wanting to increase their revenue, then lowering the price to £8 would be the best strategy, because revenue would increase that way. Right, well, we're now going to be thinking about how price elasticity of demand will affect total revenue. Right, now look at this here then. You've got here, hopefully, what you can work out to be a very price inelastic demand curve. We've got a firm, if you look at the top left-hand diagram first of all, please, which shows as price increases from £1 to £2, then demand only falls by one person. So it falls from 100 to 99. So by raising the price from £1 to £2, the vast majority of the customers are still going to buy. So the firm would gain the green revenue area. They would lose the small red revenue areas that one customer leaves the market, but overall that increase in price has significantly increased their revenue. Now, the top right diagram is exactly the same, but I'm now thinking about this in reverse. This time the firm lowers the price from £2 to £1. As prices fall, then demand will barely increase. So we're going to get a very small additional revenue from additional sales, but we're losing that huge red rectangle area as those consumers that used to pay £2 now only pay £1. So based off these diagrams here, when demand is inelastic, we would strongly advise to firms, raise your selling price. People will buy it anyway. Okay, so higher prices would lead to a growth in revenue when demand is price inelastic. And these examples here, they just evidence that. Right, you've now got the opposite. When demand is now price elastic, here people are very sensitive to price changes. So remember, demand is price elastic when we're looking at luxury products that form a high proportion of income. People have got a longer period of time to make decisions, and there are lots of substitutes available. Now look in the first diagram. This time the firm increases price by 10p, from £1.90 up to £2. It's a really, really small increase in price, but the demand plummets from 200 down to 100. Now look what happens then this time. Because we're losing so many customers, we lose the red area of revenue. But we will gain a little bit of revenue, the green area, by that increase in price. 100 people will still buy, so we get a little bit more revenue from those. But hopefully what you can see now is that revenue has fallen. In the right-hand side diagram, we're looking at this in reverse. This small reduction in price leads to a massive increase in demand, and we gain the green revenue area, but lose the red. So what we would say for a firm with a price elastic demand, you should be looking to lower the selling price. It will increase revenue. Let's look at the difference, everyone. In elastic demand, we would say raise the price. Elastic demand, we'd say lower the price. Now, when it comes to price unitary demand, it doesn't really matter. In these examples here, raising price or lowering price would lead to revenue changing by the same amount. So at both prices here, revenue is £90. There is no real benefit to adjusting price in terms of revenue anyway. Right, what I'd now like to do is to hit pause and think about these three questions, please. Put down your answers. Once you're comfortable and you are happy with what the answers are, please hit play and watch the rest of the video. Right, everyone, and this is probably the most challenging part of this topic. You've got these very bizarre looking diagrams that I've got stacked on top of each other. What we're acknowledging here is that price elasticity of demand will adjust or change along a demand curve. Now look, we've got here at very, very high prices, demand is very price elastic. In the middle, it's price unitary, and towards the bottom, demand becomes very price inelastic. Now think about what we said on the previous video, on the previous part of this video, I beg your pardon. When demand is price elastic, we recommend that firms lower prices. Now look at the relationship between the price elastic part of the demand and below showing total revenue. When demand is price elastic, if you lower the price, that extension in demand will lead to revenue increasing. If you were to raise the price, then total revenue will actually start to fall. Revenue is maximized, reaches its peak in effect, when we're at price unitary demand. When demand becomes more price inelastic, we would always recommend these firms don't lower prices. And you can see why. On the price inelastic part of the demand curve, lowering price would lead to revenue falling. In other words, the reduction in price far exceeds the increase in demand. If these firms were to raise prices, then revenue will again start to increase. We can probably look at this better by looking at this numerical example. Now look at the price elastic part of the demand curve first of all. When we charge a really, really high price for a product, let's say £2,000, demand will be very, very low. So you can see here demand is only 10. When the firm lowers the price to £1,970, that's only a very, very small percentage reduction in price. But look what happens. Demand doubles. It only grows by 10, but 10 to 20 is a doubling in demand. So we can see here the change in price is less than the change in demand. So what we can see is revenue will grow from £20,000 at 10 people buying at £2,000 to £39,400 demand 20 at price 1,970. So at really, really high prices, a £30 reduction in price here is a very, very small percent, but it's led to a significant increase in demand. It's doubled. Right now, on the price elastic part of the price inelastic part of the demand, beg your pardon, look at £100. Demand is 50. And now again, what we're going to do, we're going to lower price by £30. And again, demand increases by 10. Well, that's the same as before, really. You know, demand grows by 10 following a £30 reduction in price. Now, the difference is a £30 reduction in price is more significant in percentage terms at £100 than it was at £2,000. So if we now lower price from £100 to £70, this time it's a 30% reduction in price. But because demand is already quite high and demand grows by another 10, this time the demand increase is only going to be 20%. So if I do 20% growth in demand following a 30% reduction in price, then demand now is 0.67 in terms of elasticity. So we've now got a price inelastic demand. And look at the impacts on revenue. At price £100, revenue was £5,000. You lower the price to £70 and revenue now is only £4,200. Now the idea is, everyone, a £30 reduction in price is a bigger percent at £100 than it is at £2,000. Remember elasticity, the percent change in demand divided by percent change in price. If the percent change in price is more significant than the percent change in demand, it's inelastic. If the percent change in price is less than the percent change in demand, then it becomes elastic, the relationship. So everyone, at high prices, demand will be elastic. At low prices, demand tends to become more inelastic. And we can see the relationship between elasticity and total revenue. Now, everyone, just to finish off this video, you've now got 3 questions that I want you to jot down the answers to. So why is demand often price elastic at high prices but inelastic at low prices? Next one, what would you advise firms to do? If their demand's inelastic, what should they do to selling price? If it's elastic, what should they do to prices? If it's price unitary, what should they do to prices? And hopefully, you can all see the benefits of having an inelastic demand. Raising selling price would lead to a growth in revenue. So what do you think firms can do to make their demand more price inelastic? So, for example, how can they make their product appear more of a necessity? What could they do to remove competition or substitutes from the market? Let's have a little think about C as well. Now, when you're happy and you've got your answers down, you will finish the video. Thank you very much.